So we're here in the Test Match Special engineering room at the moment. Aggers has no idea about who's going to interview him in a short moment time to celebrate his 25 years as the BBC's cricket correspondent, his 300th Test match as well. But waiting, standing by, is Sir Michael Parkinson, ready to go. And Sir Michael, are you excited? This will be
It'll be lovely. I like the old lad, and great to admire him, and I'm very honoured to be here to pay him proper tribute. He's an amazing broadcaster, and a very, very nice man, and a lovely, bright, intelligent companion too.
So we're just about to play the music that will welcome Sir Michael into the commentary box. At the moment, Aggers has no idea that he's coming in. We're just playing some highlights of Aggers' career, and then we'll take Sir Michael Parkinson into the Test Match Special commentary box, which is just through that window there. And so 10 seconds on this tape, a famous clip you might recognise.
10 seconds, you've got the microphone. And the ball out for 419. I've stopped laughing now. There we go, Aggers. Just a few highlights of your 300 tests.
So we're almost ready to go.
25 years as a correspondent. Trying to get on.
Okay, so this way. So myself and Michael are going to come in here. Come on in.
Isn't it wonderful, isn't it? Party? Yeah, you didn't expect me, did you? Eh? Where shall I say? Thank you. I'll buy television.
And you're a liar as well, because you said you weren't going to be around.
I did say that. Yes, I'd be very cautious and hold my mouth, actually. But I'm delighted to be here, because, as you know, apart from being a mate of yours, I'm also a great fan of yours. And we thought it would be rather nice to sort of do a little quick trawl through your life and your work with
Completely
TMS.
stitched me up. No, they all have. I can't believe hint up.
Well, you deserve it. I mean, yes, you do. 25 years.
Easiest job in the world.
No, well, the most enjoyable job in the world,
Yes.
maybe. Not the easiest job in the world, that is for sure. A special gift for doing radio, and you have it. That leads to the first question. I mean, did you always have it from the very beginning? Were you settled here? Did you immediately feel, yeah, I'm at home?
Well, I think I did, because I hadn't really listened to the programme when I was playing cricket. And I think if I had done, if I had been a proper broadcaster, I think I would have been very anxious about suddenly coming into Test Match Special. But as it happened, I hadn't really heard it. I heard it as a kid, when my dad was a farmer, and he had the radio on when he was gathering in the grain and so on. But there was then that big 15-year gap, really, of not hearing John as very much, or John Arlott, or anything. I can't believe you're sitting here, Michael, by the way, and asking big questions. It's ridiculous. But so therefore, I think I was just really lucky to go in from a much more relaxed position than I would have been otherwise.
Being very relaxed about it all, and I love the sort of rhythm and sense of timing in what you do. But let's go back to the days when you were a player. You left playing cricket when you were 30. And does that denote a certain disenchantment with the game?
I've had enough. I'd had enough standing at long lane. Because I think the trouble is, Michael, and I see people playing now, if you know you're not going to play for England again, and my English career was a disaster, really. Look at the batting average and the bowling average is the wrong way round. If I had a batting average of 90 in Test cricket and a bowling average. But anyway, so I think, but once you've played for England and you know it's not going to happen again, then it's time to go, I think. If you are very competitive, and I'm very competitive, then I didn't see more years standing at Grace Road, admiring the rose bushes and flying out. So it was time to move on, and I was very lucky that this job came up. The Today newspaper, which you remember?
Yes,
I'm
you were
sure.
working
Eddie
on
Shot,
Today,
yes,
of course.
The first colour paper.
That's right.
Everything was blue. But they were brilliant, because they sent me off. This is when I was still playing, but they sent me off for some winters to do skiing, Aussie rules, rugby, surfing. Everything really, and so go away and write about it, which is a really good experience.
Learning your trade.
Absolutely, and the first of these 300 tests was working for them actually in Australia. So that without them and the people that worked there, I wouldn't be sitting here now talking to you, because that cutting edge of a tabloid newspaper is really important.
Yeah, but when you came into TMS, I mean, it was full of old pros, and they've been around for an age and more. How did they greet you? What was it like? Was it sticky to begin with?
No, it wasn't. Because my first memory is walking into the old box at Headingham, which you know so well, down there in the old football stand. Rickety old place, wasn't it? Awful place. It was just falling apart for years, but anyway, we're not there anymore. But my first glimpse was opening the door. Well, actually, I'll go back one step. I saw Blowers, who was actually going to work for Sky then. So he was going, I was coming. And Blowers said, well, one piece of advice to you, Aggers, is absolutely be yourself. Don't try and be anybody else, because radio will show you up. Be yourself. And so I waved Henry off to go and start his career at Sky. And I walked into the comedy box, and there was this old boy stooped over a sort of pile of cake boxes. And it was Johners. And he said, you must be Aggers. And that was it. And Peter Baxter, very wisely, because I hadn't commentated before on anything, decided that I'd be an expert summariser for that first year, which is a joke because the other two expert summarisers were Fred Truman and Trevor Bailey, and then me. So anyway, but the point being that I would sit beside Johners and watch and learn. And he and I did hit it off. I mean, we're
like a comedy act, actually.
Well, it's like
it was wonderful. The Western world.
Do you think?
It's rather stylish, you know.
You think so?
My brother and I.
Don't you think that there is often a good gap in generations, though? Yes. With grandparents and grandchildren are often even closer, maybe, than parents and children sometimes. And he was like a granddad to me, really. I mean, he was, because the age difference, and just the way he looked after me. Yes. And we just got on incredibly well. And of course, the leg over that we heard there.
Well, I mean, I have to tell you, the only thing that would get me back onto to radio, in fact, to do my second This Is Your Life, or it's called, Desert Island This, will be to actually choose. That was the funniest broadcast I've ever heard in my life.
Would you have it on?
Oh, would I ever have it on? I mean, it is priceless. And no matter how many times you see it, or hear it rather, it is wonderful. It is so funny.
Yeah. It has been seen once.
Has it?
And that was the only time I was ever paid for it. I got 50 quid because it turned up on Auntie's Bloomers. Do you remember that Terry Hogan used to do?
Yeah.
Well, otherwise it's been one of the most extraordinary replay things. It's played everywhere.
I love the thought of the people driving along and crashing into each other.
And funny enough, see, John, when it happened, was really quite cross. And he stomped off at the Oval. It was my first year. And he stomped off into the night, shaking his head. And I remember he was very upset at home. And the next morning...
He'd already gone too far.
He'd already gone too far. He'd lost it, unprofessional, and it hadn't been very funny. Absolutely. I mean, he was really worried about it. The next day, we don't get them now, it's all emails, isn't it, and so on, but there was this mountain of letters, and I was reasonably confident because I'd heard it being played on the Today programme, so I thought, actually, this is funny, you know. So I waited for the old boy to come in, and he started picking through these letters. He still wasn't talking to me, and he got to one from Ronnie Corbett's wife that he opened up. Yes. And she had been one of these people who was stuck in the Dartford tunnel or something, laughing, you know. And so immediately his mood lifted. And I took him down to the engineer and said, come on, right, we've got to come and have a listen to this. And we sat there and listened to it. Of course, he had tears pouring down his face. Oh, he loved it after that. But it was a classic. But of course, he then wouldn't work with me anymore. He said, if we look at each other like you and I are now, it would be hopeless. And he was right, really. We'd just end up corpsing. Anyway, we had a couple of goes, but we just sort of broke into silly laughter, really.
Speaking about relationships, I mean, that was a very subversive sense. It was a good grandfather-son, sort of a grandson relationship. How do you sort of explain your relationship with Jeffrey Boycott? I must explore this because this is something from. I mean, you're keeping him in work, you know.
I know. People always wonder, don't they? I mean, I suspect because on the radio, it is a bit bickery, isn't it? I mean, it can be a bit edgy, I suppose. But I'm with you, I think. I mean, I do have a sort of a genuine affection for Jeffrey. It's not easy, is it?
It's not, no. I've tried since I was 16.
I know, and you've known him considerably longer than I have. No, but I mean, we are really good mates, and like you, I mean, you can't help but admire him for a start.
He reads the game well.
Yes, he does. Yeah. I think of all the summarisers, the experts I've worked with, he's the most pithy. He'll put, particularly batsmen, I mean, bowlers obviously not quite his thing, but particularly batting, he will highlight a weakness, particularly because that's his strength, isn't it? Technical weakness, or he will highlight that within just a few minutes. And I really admire that. He's never late. He's always got something to say. So I love Jeffrey. When he was ill, I mean, I knew when you'd go and see him, I'd go and see him, and he wasn't. He was in a bad state.
That was the most awful one to see him.
Yeah, he was, and for him to, well, it's kind of typical of him, really, that he's fought it off. But you know, you get people in. And when I feel Jeffrey sit down beside me, you know you're going to have some fun.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you started, as an ex-pro, the problem always is, if you're going to be honest in your commentary, that you have to actually criticise at times, sometimes worse. And some are very good at that and get into it straight away. Others back off. And there's nothing worse than listening at home and feeling he's backing off this. And you can't accuse you of doing that, nor Jeff of doing that. And you've always been very honest in your opinion. And sometimes, I suppose, it might have cost you a friendship. I mean, there was a famous incident with your commentary about Mike Matherton on the Preston and Pocket thing. You didn't hold back there at all. You said you thought he should be sacked. When you did that, did you understand the consequences might be losing a friend?
It's funny that, because Mike and I have still never talked about that.
Really?
No.
You never
What was
said
that? That was what, 94, 95?
Yeah.
It's a long time. I mean, we're perfectly good mates, so we chat and we talk, but we've never talked about that.
Really?
Yeah. And it was here. And it was, I think that obviously, and then the KP business latterly has been the most difficult times doing this job, because you do have to be honest. You might be wrong,
Yes.
but you've got to be honest.
Yes.
And the mic one was really hard, you know, because we had the year before a lot of ball tampering issues with Pakistan and so on. I mean, it seemed to be, well, it's all right for us to pile into the Pakistani fast bowlers and talk about it, but actually, you know, when one of our own appears to be ball tampering, for some reason we shouldn't talk about it.
Yes.
And I thought that was wrong. And it was interesting how actually the broadsheets sided entirely with him, whereas the tabloid newspapers rather sided with my argument. But it was really unpleasant, really unpleasant. And I remember you came up to interview me, didn't you?
I did.
For the Telegraph.
That's right.
And that was, in a way, a bit of a turning of the tide, because I think you whether you thought I was right or not, I don't think it matters, but I think you felt that I was right to say it, whereas others ran a very stiff campaign, some newspapers, actually to get me out of the job. Because they argued that BBC correspondent shouldn't make comment like that.
Yes.
You know, would the political correspondent of the time demand for the Prime Minister to be sacked? They sort of liked it like that, which made it all a bit complicated. But I think, yeah, well, you're popping up the scene with that. Just turn the tide a little bit, actually.
Oh, it's good.
But it's funny how we've never.
Never talked about it to Mike.
We
That was
haven't.
interesting. He sort of lurks there like a shadow in the cross.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I do wonder what he would have written now, by the way, if he'd been sitting watching that.
Yes. Well, again, he's a very honest journalist.
He is,
isn't
absolutely.
So I think he might have actually sided with
Yeah. I take the view, Michael, and you know this, you've covered sport for years, that whatever happens on the field is not actually it's not your doing, it's not your fault. Like Stuart Broad not walking at Headingley at Trent Bridge, who again, really, you know, their family's very close friends of mine. I walk my dog to Stuart, and for people sometimes to write stuff about, journalists are too close to players, well hang on a minute, maybe do get close to the players, but you've still got to do your job. I walk my dog to Stuart, and I said, I'm sorry, you can't behave like that, that's cheating, you shouldn't do that.
Yes.
So you do have to do your job as well as maintain relationships in the game, and sometimes they do sustain.
What about television? Have you ever been seduced by it? Have you been offered?
Michael, I've got a great face for radio, and the man who says that is Ian Botham next door. No, I couldn't do television, I don't think.
Why would that be?
Because it's just a completely different. I mean, I think Blowers would accept that television wasn't him either. I think radio, you're looking out here through our magnificent window and beyond the stands and out and almost as far as Heathrow or the city or whatever. Whereas on telly, you've got that little monitor.
Yes.
And you've got the man in your ear, which I also find very difficult to do. Whereas this you can just bring people with you. I think you communicate so much more on radio than you can on television. You can have fun with people, you can tease people a bit. I love it when we're abroad and it's in the middle of the night and you just think of the people lying in bed, they've got their headphones on, you know, and you're in there, you're almost sort of you're part of you're right in their brains, you know, and that's, yeah, because you're all privileged to that, of course, but it's great fun to do it as well, and I love teasing people, and you can tease the listeners as well as you tease the people that you're working with, can't you? That's all part of it. I just don't think it's not as relaxed as that.
No,
Do you think?
I see your point, absolutely. But I think there's also that seduction of becoming that TV face, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but it's so nice not to have that, isn't it? I mean, I was talking to these two young ladies actors yesterday who, because they made up differently when they were filming, they can almost wander around incognito. I'd hate to be someone like Ian Botham. I see scurrying in through the gates here.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, there's people descending on him and so on. Whereas a radio man can just wander through unnoticed, which is great.
What about the situation here then?
Great game.
It's a wonderful game.
Yeah.
But what about Joe Root? Eh? Do you think we should open with him now? Sort of ask him to settle down a bit, go back to where he started?
No, I want to number 4, Michael. I wish they hadn't moved him.
Why do you want number 4?
Well, I didn't want him moved, really. I thought he was happy there. I thought that the team looked happy with him there.
Yeah. Well, we're still in now. I don't want to bring a damper on the procedures at all.
No.
But I mean, I reckon that it's maybe just the obvious, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
No, I think that's struggling.
Yeah.
They're struggling, unfortunately.
Yeah. But a great game, as you said.
Yes, that's what we want.
Okay, now just think of the great moments. I know that you were in the preamble to this. There was a sort of a litany of stuff there.
Just to bring back the memories when you hear things like that.
That's what I want to ask you. I mean, when you sort of think back, and as you do, you either sort of trying to get sleep, or you think back over your career. Who have been the truly great players that you've seen? The guys that really moved you, that you thought, that is exceptional.
Yeah. Shane Warne would be number 1, I think.
Yeah.
I love seeing him around. Yeah. Because, I mean, apart from physically, he hasn't changed at all, has he? He's still the same bloke.
Got more hair.
Yeah. But I love seeing Shane, but I mean, to watch, to commentate on him bowling, this amazing bowler, brilliant bowler, but also this sort of pantomime Dane figure to bring the colour to you. As a commentator, you want something like that. You don't just want somebody running in and doing or just batting mechanically. You know, for a radio commentator, you want the rest of it to get the colour. And I thought Shane gave you that in spades.
He really should, doesn't he?
Yeah,
a great player.
I think Dilker, I love watching bat, of course, but then he just sort of batted, you know, beautifully, but I never got necessarily very excited about watching Tendulkar. I watched Adam Gilchrist, who kind of changed wicket keeping and batting when he was going Brian Lara. I mean, there's so many you can list off. My favourite moment was that Steve Waugh 100, and I know that sort of England supporters go, "Oh, Steve Waugh," but funny enough, that commentary that they played was not on BBC. That was on the ABC.
Oh, right.
And in fact, we got it. I was on Kerry O'Keefe, who was also a wonderful person to listen to. But for an Englishman to broadcast on such a significant moment as that, I thought was just wonderful, because you know, you do go onto these radio stations as a guest, really, and sometimes it's okay, I feel part of the setup now. I've done it so long, but you do have sort of people. I think Australian listeners might listen to this pom on for a while and wonder if you can cut them.
Start with disadvantage.
Yeah, I think you do. You've got to win them over, haven't you?
Absolutely.
But to be able to do that, because everything was against Steve at the time, really, and they were trying to get him out. And that was such a brave innings, and I just felt that almost anybody else would just patted the ball away, and they would come back for the next day about 93 not out, and then got their 100. Not him. Not the last ball of the day. I mean, it was that I think was the most excited I've ever been, and it was an Australian batsman scoring 100 against Australia. But I think it was because the Ashes in 2005 was amazing. And the scene at the Oval was one that you could never forget. Anybody that was there would never forget it. And especially if you had a bit of height, you could see beyond the Oval and look at the people in the windows and on the roofs and the balconies and chimney pots and so on. And Leslie Garrett singing and Hugh Grant in the box. But it was a bit of an anticlimax the way that it happened. The bus was great though. That was the next day. To be on that was a ridiculous privilege. There's only me and a guy from Sky with any journos on it. And dear old Andrew Flintoff giving his indecipherable interview at the front. I mean, things like that. I mean, the more you think about it, Mike, I mean, these things are lovely to be ambushed, but you kind of wish you had 10 minutes to think of these wonderful things.
What about the other aspect of your job here, which is the interviews that you do with the famous personalities or whatever? I did a few of them, and I know that it sounds a wonderful job, but it can actually be disastrous at times. What's the biggest disaster? Positive one.
You know I can't answer that.
Yes. Well, give us a hint. Male or female?
It's male. The only hint I'll give you.
Part of my famous acting family.
That's as far as it's going to go, because I feel embarrassed just in case he's listening. I do say it to my guests now, if I ever ask you what you think of the Euro, it means we're struggling, because that was the last question that I said to this acting, great dynasty individual. And I remember the door burst open and the producer came rushing because he knew I must have asked him 300 questions.
Nothing came back.
Nothing. And that was literally the last question. That was the last thing I could think of asking him. And it dented my confidence for a while. And I didn't do the next couple. And Peter Baxter got hold of me and said, "This is ridiculous. You've got to get back on the horse.
Yeah.
Choose who you want." And so I went for Stephen Fry. Asked him about 3 questions in 40 minutes.
The go-to situation.
But you've helped me. So you're hiding your light under your bush, and you've helped me with that. I've come to you for help on these interviews, and you've been kind enough to do it, because I suppose there is a sort of a technique to doing it, but you are alone. I mean, you are alone in this box with nowhere to go. You can't go to the traffic news or a weather forecast, and you are totally in the hands of that person who comes in. But most people, they're thrilled to be here.
I think you should have an ejector seat.
Well,
Just press the button and off they went. Thank you and goodbye.
But it's a challenge. I mean, it's great to talk to people.
Yeah, absolutely. But when the other person, it's a two-way stress in an interview. If the other person's can't be bothered, you've had it.
Yeah.
You know, I've sat there many times.
I know.
What am I doing?
But often, don't you find when your mind has gone blank, it's happened a few times, you think, what was I going to ask? Thank goodness the person that you're interviewing has just given you an extra sentence or two. So it's come back again. I've been in that situation times where there's just nothing there, and you think if they stop now, I don't know what I'm going to ask. But they've just given you another couple of sentences and something comes back. By the way, have you taken my name off your top of your phone?
Oh gosh, I know, it's terrible. I sort of bang the phone in my pocket.
And it always rings.
His number.
Always rings.
You must have like 75 calls.
Well, I thought you'd seen
now. Well, I mean, that's a fair bet, let me tell you. Now, there's other things, of course, the opposite to what we've been talking about is the ones that you really look forward to. Stephen Fry apart, who's a fascinating man,
yes.
A wonderful talker about any subject you get to mention, and a few you don't mention too. But I mean, from that point of view, who've been the ones that you most enjoyed?
Well, the one that I want to do more than is Alex Ferguson.
Oh yes, that's a good one.
I'd love to do sort of talk. Do you know?
No.
I'd love to do that, only because I suppose of the reputation that comes with it, but also the extraordinary career that he's managed. I mean, he has managed somehow to keep the sporting team evolving, which has never really happened in cricket, has it? You look at the Great West Indies team, the Australian team, and so on. They've only had a shelf life of 10 years. So anyway, I'd like to. I'll tell you one I really enjoyed, and in a way, it really brought home a lesson to me as well. We've only recorded a very few of these, as in on tape beforehand. One was Elton John, and for a start, I knew he knew a bit about cricket. And that's all you ever ask from these people, isn't it? They come a bit of cricket, and off you go. And it's an excuse to get them on.
Can't play.
So first of all, I turned up and we were at Battersea, and his sort of advisor said, "Do you want to interview Elton in his sort of lorry or on his piano stool?" So I went to him, I thought, "I'd better have a look at his lorry." I mean, it was like a Hilton. It was extremely massive, it had a huge screen and everything else. And I said, "I think I'll do it on the piano stool." So I got his piano stool, and sure enough, Elton John turned up. And first of all, he started talking to me about that amazing one-day international yesterday between West Indies and Zimbabwe. Did you see it? And I said, no, I didn't. And he was talking about these fast bowlers he'd seen and so on, and talked about playing here at Lord's and so on. So when first, his cricket knowledge really gripped me, actually, the fact that he was. But what the lesson that I learned was he was about to do a concert. And how many times, I mean, do you know the words to your song by Elton John? I mean, we've all had a bit of a drunken go, haven't we? You don't know the words?
I know.
You know the song?
All of it, I know the song.
You kick it off. Yeah. Right, well, I think I'd know most of the words to your song, but most people. He had 3 screens up.
Yes.
From his view of from his piano stool, of the lyrics to your song. He's going to obviously sing that first. And I thought, how professional is that? I mean, there are times when you're feeling a bit that you can't really be bothered to do a bit of preparation or something.
Yeah.
There's him, and he's gone to that length.
Bing Crosby had the keyboard up for White Christmas. No. I thought he might have known that.
But that's it, isn't it?
We have to go now because there's
You are an old rogue. I've been completely stitched by everybody.
I really much enjoyed that. And the nice thing about you, I think, from one professional to another, is you never lost your sense of wonder about this game. And you report the game and they play wonderfully well.
Best in the world.
So well. 25 years, keep on going.
Michael, you've done me there, and you've all done me there. Time for lunch?
Yeah.
Good lunch. Now you can get Kevin Harold. Well, I've been completely stitched up there. And now I can give Kevin Harold. There'll be some retribution after this, boys and girls, let me tell you.